WTF, guys, it's Where to Fish again, and I've got a real special guest, a good mate of mine, Frank. And the important thing about Frank is when I first started going down the beach, there used to be Frank in this awesome military truck that everyone was envious of. And we fished there, this is back in the 90s, but Frank has been fishing. When did you start fishing pins, Frank?
Well, I mean, fishing it probably the late 70s.
But you started on Bob Hall Pier, yeah?
Well, I fished Bob Hall Pier when I was a kid, but we would go down, back when Bob Hall Pier was the last place where you could get on the beach.
That's right. There wasn't a road actually going to the seashore,
correct.
Was it?
And so we would go down there, I don't know how far, but we would go down there. We had a Volkswagen dune buggy with a fiberglass body on it. And we would drive down there until we got stuck. Because the ruts were what they were. And of course, that Volkswagen only had certain size tires. But I can remember there being a bank, the shell banks and this and that. I don't know how old I was.
See, Ralph, from when I asked this story, because the beach was covered in wood in them days, there was so you had to work your way through it. But from what I gathered or felt, Ralph used to get about as far as the 15, where Riabra Pass just past that area.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, they wouldn't go deep south.
What year are we talking? When you had that truck?
When I had this truck?
No, he had a Volkswagen before.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, when I had my first beach truck, I bought this truck right here, and I was going down there a little bit before that, but I bought this truck and pulled it home right around Christmas of 1980.
Now, how much did you pay for it?
$150.
Tell me the story of where you first saw that truck.
Well, there was a guy in Portland. I still have the title to the truck. His name was Billy Beard, and he lived on Bayview Drive, and he lived up on the bluff, and he had it down behind the bluff. And when I went out and waded over there off of Indian Point, but right there close to Portland, the old causeway. Anyway, I could just kind of see it, and so I went over there one day, and it just happened to be up at the house. And I knocked on the door and asked him if it was for sale, and he said, "As a matter of fact, it is." And like I said,
how long did you run that truck?
$150. I ran it till the door fell off, and I mean, I'm not lying to you. Probably about 3 or 4 years, but it got to where the door. I mean, literally, the door hinges were so rusted, the door fell off.
You didn't need it anyway.
Well,
Did you continue using it?
I actually gave it to my next door neighbor, and he took it down and took it to the ranch, his ranch in Ensenada, and they drove it around for several years. And then I went down there one time and I brought it back, and then I got parts off of it.
But the truck you were where I first knew you would be the truck in number 2, which was an old military truck. Yeah.
Correct. It was a Dodge. It was a 1962 Dodge M37 B1 with a winch.
I thought that was the coolest thing since sliced bread.
And in this picture you have here, this was before any modifications or any of that. Some friends of mine, both of them, fishing partners, they were doing some job in Sinton, and it was at a shop, and they said, yeah, it had a for sale sign on it, and I drove over there, and it was $1,500 plus what it cost to get fixed, and it was $350 to get fixed. So I bought it for $1,850.
Were you with UPS at the time?
No, not quite yet. Okay. And I drove it. I drove it almost all the way home. I'm trying to think what that is. It's not Moose Lodge, but right there at Ayers, and it started missing. And a friend of mine who was following me, we pulled it into there, and it ended up, it ended up through time learning it was something really simple. It was just a piece of trash got in the needle seat of the carburetor, and it was flooding out. The truck sat for whatever that was. I bought that one in '84, I think it was. So who knows how long it sat.
Well, you were using
I was
that
the
in
first
the
person.
90s.
Yeah, I was the first person to put license plates on that truck. Before that, it was in the military, and then it was I think not volunteer fire department, but some kind of one of those entities. That's back then. That's
so
what
you
they
brought
used to
that
do.
just to run pins, really?
Oh yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Because it had the same engine as that other truck.
So how long would you go down for in them days?
I never spent more than 4 days.
4 days.
But we would go down Friday night, Friday afternoon, Friday night, and then come back Sunday most of the time because we had jobs. But that go ahead.
I'm assuming are they 4-wheel drive?
It is.
Whoa.
And it's geared really low, and of course, it doesn't have lockout hubs, but it's not pulling all the time. But it's actually got 8 forward gears. It's got 4 in low and 4 in high. And so for driving down that beach, you could find a gear.
One that would fit.
Yeah, instead of having to shift, shift and shift and shift and shift and shift, you just found the right gear and just cruised along, whether it was...
That's awesome.
I got to tell a story. Sorry, got to tell this.
Right.
Okay, we were down around the 40, and I had borrowed, or he let me use his kayak, Jeff Scott, who used to work for Packard Tire. Anyway, we were coming back, and I needed to bring his kayak back because I was going to say how smooth the truck rode. I had a 1-ounce pyramid sinker on the hood, and we drove from the 40 to the 25. And that weight was still on the hood. That's how smooth. I was going to say like a cup like that, although that one has a smaller bottom, but used to be some nice quart cups, that were the same size. I could set that on the floorboard and never spill a drop.
Wow.
And it was heavy. It didn't bounce. And it was, you figure it was actually built for off-road.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a military truck. It wasn't built to drive down the highway.
Right. So
it was the smoothest truck that I've ever been in on the beach.
Right. Strange truck story. Let's tell them the story of Poncho.
Okay.
Right. Dear old Poncho was a lure maker, local lure maker. Beautiful. He did some beautiful work, and I've got some of his lures still. And just a real gentleman, right? But he would fish with his wife. And he was all the way down near Mansfield, right? And then he had this truck that would not go in forward gears. He backed it all the way off the beach, didn't he?
He did. That was probably a mid to late 70s Chevrolet because he had his old square body truck, and he really liked that truck. And he told me at one time, man, if I'd have known this was going to be this good a truck, I'd have bought 2 of them.
That's Poncho.
But yeah, he was not only was he a lure maker, a rod maker, he was a master craftsman.
He was just an awesome guy, wasn't he?
You name it, he could do it. Whatever kind of tool.
Yeah,
whatever kind of tool, whatever. And I was telling Nick, I watched him make a lure one time, and he didn't get something to measure it with. He just used the pencil, and he used where he had his finger, how far he had his finger as the measurement.
The story I always remember about Poncho, Billy told me, was that Billy was fishing south, and he was catching plenty of trout, and he was moving up the beach, and he come up against Poncho. So he got out the truck and said, "You doing any good, Poncho?" Poncho said, "No, I haven't caught a thing." He said, "Well, you want to be using one of these mirror lures, this particular thing, right?" Poncho said, "Fuck them. If they won't eat my lure, I don't want them."
But it's funny how he was, and he would make his own. Again, he made his own stuff, and I remember him putting stuff in a 5-gallon bucket and doing like that, and to make sure it didn't fall over.
Right.
But he said, I don't know how many he said he lost before he ever painted them. He would take them out and see how they worked.
Right.
And he'd get, he got cut off a few times, but
excellent guy.
He was, man, what a human being.
Lovely old boy. And one of the ones I always think of when I'm thinking of that beach, for some reason, his face always crops up. Now, let's talk about, you were an avid shark fisherman, weren't you?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
So how did you deploy your baits? Did you have drones?
Yeah, right. I wish. These young guys, they don't realize how easy they have it.
So how did you do it?
We used a one man life raft.
And we've got one of them pictures here, and it looks ridiculously scary.
Well, it was a lot of work, and we bought those at GI Surplus.
So they're ex-military things?
I believe so, and you know, another one of those things I should have brought. I still have one of the brass stoppers. That's what they had. Is they, you know, to blow it up, it had a brass.
You blow them up with breath?
Yeah. We didn't have all this battery operated stuff back then.
So
what year was that?
Oh shoot, man! That's probably
80s something.
Yeah, we'll say 90 at the most. Like I say, because it came out of one of those albums, probably 1990. But yeah,
but
I used to paddle about 5 baits out about 200 to 300
quite a few of the
yards.
shark fishermen use the same sort of raft. They were buying them all at this surplus place in town, and they'd paddle. Now, how far would you take them baits out?
About 200 to 300 yards.
And they were jackfish and things like that.
Whatever we could catch, and we would. You know, this other picture you see. I mean, I think we caught 17 jackfish that day and went home and put them in the freezer. And but sometimes if we could catch fresh bait, whether it was a ladyfish, I call them skipjack, but the new guys, they call them ladyfish. Skipjack. Sometimes if we had to, we used whiting, a bait shark back when you could do that. You know, and some other things.
Kittens.
No, that was the old deal. Somebody put I think where that actually came from is somebody put an ad in the newspaper, ad sack, whatever, and hey, I have some kittens, you know, and a shark fisherman called, just happened to be a shark fisherman that called, and the lady said, well, what are you going to do with them? And he just popped off and said, I'm going to use it for shark bait. And of course, the lady went berserk and called the paper and, you know, all that. So that's where that, as far as I know, that's where that story came from.
I was going to ask, what's the best kind to use?
Oh, well, I don't know. But you know how to catch a hammerhead, right?
How?
You got to use a nail. That's a Roger Ponder joke there.
I love it.
So there's no kittens for bait that you know of.
It's not in their diet, and it's one of those things that you know, people say,
I don't think
whenever people get bit, you know, they don't eat people. They spit us out because we probably taste nasty. And so the thing is we're not something they eat. You know, mammals aren't something they really eat. And so, I mean, that being said, they want fish.
Yeah.
So,
you know?
So no to the cats.
No.
But
we're going to bury the cats.
Yeah. It's a weird time, isn't it? Jaws had just been out, the movie.
Yep, in the 70s.
Right. So people were catching sharks because it was the thing, wasn't it, to do with...
Well, and
do you think that film actually...
Increased?
Yeah, I'm sure it increased the shark.
Well, I tell you, you know, and there was a picture on a page the other day, and I don't remember if it was the Mr. Mac page or what, but it was Paul Dirk, and it was a deal where, you know, he had a shark in a freezer cooler and was traveling around with the Boy Scouts, but you know, he capitalized on that movie by having the shark hunter at the Dolphin Docks, which I don't know if he had part ownership at that time or not, but through time he and Brian Gully got ownership of the Dolphin Docks. But you know, they ran the shark hunter, and you know, people, oh yeah, we want to, you know, because it sparked a lot of interest.
You're a member of a club, because I've seen your name in the book.
Yeah,
Corpus Christi
Shark
Association.
Yep, and that was sponsored by Max Bait and Tackle.
Okay.
Robert McMahon and his wife, great people, treated us all like kids, you know, and just really good people. And
now we went through that with you the other day, didn't I? I was showing you. Your
oh
names
heck yeah!
And what there was about 20 or 30 entries per year of sharks.
That sounds about right.
Right. And the thing was then you used to catch them and hang them outside Bob Hall Pier or wherever you could hang them, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much everybody. Mostly people killed them, and then
Jawed them out, maybe.
probably I'm going to say early '80s for sure. I was introduced to tag and release through a friend of mine, Bob Keepers, through the National Marine Fisheries Service cooperative tagging program, and I'm pretty sure it was 1983 and '84. I won the award for most tagged fish.
And you had that big bull. Was that the same year?
No, this was '82. This was before I got into tag and
No,
release.
you won a prize for that, didn't you?
Yeah, we were in a tournament.
How big
Memorial
was
Day
it?
tournament. It was 9 foot 1 inch and weighed 418 pounds on Woody Sports Center scale. And
Where did you catch it?
I caught it about 7 miles offshore, and I'm going to say around the standpipes, but they're not there anymore. So unless you're an old timer, you're not going to know where that is.
Okay, so how did you get out there?
We were in a 19 foot 6 inch aqua sport. So, and we weren't even there very long when I got it on. We hadn't even put the third bait out, and I got it on. And
What was your rod? Out of interest?
I was using a
Harrington or something?
No, I was using, it was actually a Shakespeare, a white Shakespeare, and I had a 10-aught.
Loaded with what line?
Probably 100, 130. But I mean, my bait wasn't out that far, and I fought it for an hour. Yeah. Well, it's a big fish.
And they fight a bull shark is scrappy,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
And that's still the biggest thing I've ever caught in my life.
It's one hell. And we've got that in picture 6, which we'll add into that. Now, also the limits in them days, it wasn't really a big issue, was it?
No, not on sharks.
I mean,
on sharks, there was no limits
about
whatsoever.
On trout and red as well.
That was late 70s, early 80s is when all that limit stuff started. And I'm going to say really and truthfully, all of it started, and I know it was early 80s. And the reason I say that is in picture 12, which is the freeze. I believe that was 83.
I was going to go into that in a minute with you.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that later then. But we had a major freeze back in the early 80s, and that's when they really, I think, started first imposing limits on trout.
Okay.
Now, the redfish limits started because of the black and redfish deal in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And the first...
What was that?
Pardon me?
What happened?
Well, they started Chef Paul Perdone in Louisiana started black and redfish. And so everybody had to have it. And so people were, what they wanted on the menus everywhere. And so they were wiping them out. And
I remember speaking to an old man who come in the shop one day, and he was telling me on a lure, I think he caught one lure, which was a worm, jighead. He caught like 70 trout.
Well, I wouldn't. I
mean, they were more likely all dinks. But when he was talking about the freezes, John Barley says he went south and he swears he saw plus 40-inch trout.
I wouldn't doubt it. Back in those days, there's so much pressure now that I don't know that you'll ever see fish that size again. I don't know that you'll ever see numbers like that, like you're talking. Mm-hmm. And I know there was a trip. I had my Boston Whaler at the time, so 95 to 2,000, somewhere probably in that range. Some friends and I went over to St. Joe's, San Jose, and got out of the boat and threw lures. And there's no doubt between the 5 of us that we caught over 200 trout easily. I mean, easily.
So I can honestly remember, like late 90s, going down into the 30s, I'd guarantee 10 trout. I honestly, it was just, I knew I was going to get it.
So is the pressure
Well, we had
People
two
or
red
climate?
tides. We had red
It's
tide,
people.
red tide one after the other. Billy always said there was a resident trout fishery between like the 20 and the 50. So they weren't coming out, they were there. All right. After the red tide, if you look at pictures 15 and 16, that'll show you how bad them red tides were. That killed off that beach trout fishery or really damaged it badly. There was hundreds of them dead on the beach. And I don't think it's even recovered today. I mean, I go out looking for trout and I like, and you can always catch them on top waters or mullet. You get no problem.
This is how I've been telling the story on the boat, and I may have said this to Nick at the shop. Okay, we'll just for number purposes. Okay, back in the old days, you had 5 people fishing, and they could keep 20 trout apiece. Okay, easily, and he didn't put that picture. Fish Bass Jetties, a friend and I, we brought home 40 one day.
I saw that picture.
Anyway, but that being said, but numbers purposes and pressure purposes and this and that, you had 5 people fishing, catching 20 fish. And again, the numbers aren't perfect, but now what you have is you've got 20 people fishing, catching 5 fish,
Right.
which now it's 3. But again, just for numbers.
Yeah.
That's the difference in the fishery now and the fishery 40 years ago.
Right.
Is it's the amount of people that are out there fishing and catching fish.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they're not big enough to keep, how many of those are surviving?
Correct.
That's
when
the
you catch and
mortality
release,
rate.
yeah, it's terrible.
And those of us, and I think most fishing guides, and in Port Aransas we fish mostly redfish.
Frank is a fishing guide,
But we cut the hook off. But you have a lot of people that they want to save that 10-cent hook or that quarter hook or that 75-cent hook. And so they don't care if they rip that fish's guts out. And so that fish isn't going to make it. Well, when I was a kid, there was no size limit. You just, if he was this big, you take him home and eat him.
Frank,
And those are the things that have changed.
If it fitted in a skillet, it made
Yeah. Well, I can remember, we ate a lot of whiting when I was a kid. Scale them, gut them, cut the head off,
They're still
cook
good
them in a
eating.
cast iron. Shoot, yeah, they are.
Whiting is one of the most underrated fish as far as eating goes. I mean,
I've made the statement for many, many years of my life. If they got to be 10 to 15 pounds, why would you fish for anything else?
that's right.
Because they fight really well for a small fish, and heck yeah, they're good to eat. So
do you think the same things really happen with shark fishermen? I can remember. Here's another thing about Frank. Back when I got here in the 90s, I could go down that beach and there was very few people I'd see sort of south of the 20 on a regular basis. Be Ralph Wade, Frank, Billy Sandifer, Jim, just apart from Frank, all members of AA, all ex-alcoholics, every damn one of them, but the most lovely people, Ralph Wade, etc. And you'd see them, and Ralph would always give you a cup of coffee and want to show you the 100 lures he carried in the back of his truck, but he only ever used one.
Yeah.
Do you remember? He used to get them all out, didn't he? All his mirror lures and everything.
he liked to talk.
Oh, he did.
He was a talker, but such a sweetheart.
Lovely old boy. But a character, 100% character. And you knew you were going to see some of them on the beach that day. And it was sort of Billy, like sometimes he wouldn't even look at you. Another time he'd want to stop and have a talk.
Well, it's really funny you say that because somebody had an old placard, flyer or whatever, and it's, Padre Island Safaris and Billy of course, down at the bottom it says, experienced, knowledgeable, whatever, and courteous. And I went,
what?
courteous, maybe when he's sleeping, because he was kind of crusty. But he was such a good guy. But he was a little crusty.
Tell the story of how Billy lived down there for a year, but on the beach.
He after he got back from Vietnam, he lived down there, and I used to hear the story. He lived on Cheerios and powdered milk and whatever anybody would leave him going home. Mm-hmm.
So he came off because of he got pneumonia, but he did 2 tours in Vietnam, so he went back. He said he enjoyed it. Billy was a star, but
he was a star.
He was. He could. I mean, if he wanted to talk, you'd get the best story out of him you've ever heard. And one of his most famous stories is the ghost of the 33 or the 32. Have you ever heard that story?
I have.
Yeah.
No. What is it?
Well,
Tell the audience.
No, I mean he swears, or he did. And the story has been written that this ghost, him and his mate were down there fishing. He heard the story he told me. He heard it walk up, and it started walking round his camp, and his mate was panicking, terrible, right? But that's the story, and I mean it's become quite famous. I mean it's been written up in magazines and everything.
It was just in the Island Moon on Facebook the other day.
Yeah.
Within the last month. But yeah, I was thinking about it this morning, especially after I saw that thing, and it was, a deal where, again, I've known Billy a long time, and or I knew him a long time. I never really got close with him. I don't really know why that was, but anyhow, that being said, every time I'd see him at the beach, I'd be like, "Hey man, good to see you," and he'd always reply, "Good to be seen." Which I mean, I think about that, and I think, now that I get older, the people that I don't see every day and see in a place like that is really a good reply. And Nick was saying a few minutes ago about once you got to a certain point down the beach, it kind of thinned out and you didn't see a whole lot of people because the beach back then was pretty treacherous. In fact, there's a couple of pictures here, or at least, a couple of pictures here on this of vehicles that didn't make it back,
Yeah.
And this is just a couple of them. There's more than these two.
There's some in the water too.
Yeah, there's plenty in a lot of places.
I walked off. I set off walking back one day, and I walked a good 5 or 6 miles before anyone come along.
But I mean, it's again back in those days in the I'll say 70s, which was more the generation older than myself, and I'm 64, and then even into we'll say the 80s. It's still, no cell phone service, one way in, one way out. Not that many people went down there. So, yeah, you hope you didn't break down.
Do you know, though, that's when the park rangers were your friend. I honestly remember Pergy would always come by and because they know they would get stuck.
Sure.
And you'd have to be the one to help them out. And I helped situation down there a couple of times, but that's when you realised you were sort of, although you weren't talking all the time, you relied on each other. If one of you was stuck, you were going to stay there and help them get out. But nowadays it's different. You don't see them rangers; they don't tend to talk to you. It's a different game.
Well, it's just it's part of that is the way society is too. I mean, I wouldn't want to go like, "Has that guy got a gun?" Or, I've been pulled over for speeding a couple of times the last 2 years, and they're very hesitant even to walk up to the truck.
Oh yeah,
Scary. Yeah, different world.
Yeah, and they're I mean, flak jackets, all that, and it's like, man, we're on the beach. But anyway, it's just we live in a way.
Randy Reeder would come by. There'd always be like 4 or 5 wetbacks in the back of his truck. He'd stop and want to have a coffee with you and a talk, wouldn't he?
But it is a thing, again, those of us back then, and even now, I don't know whether they recognize vehicles or not. But, yours has the advertising on it. So, yours is, hey, there goes Nick, you know. But I mean, back, when I had that military truck, I mean, it was, okay. They knew who I was.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, there's that guy again. Oh man, he must be on vacation. He's here in the middle of the week, But anyway, and like I say, it's different. The beach is a lot more driver friendly now. I can remember it would take, hours upon hours to get down to like the 30 or the 40, and that's why we used to use the back road is just because you didn't want to get all beat up.
That back road was an asset back then. The high banks were there, it really was.
It was really nice.
I used to love going back there.
How fast could you guys go? Because
at times on the back road, you could drive 40 miles an hour. Right? You're on that mud flat back there.
For how long? What mile markers?
It was between the 19 and about the 28.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Good stretch.
But on the beach, the way the beach was configured,
that was a bad area.
and
okay.
Because you had
you had a high road that was mostly white powder sand, with two tracks. And every now and then guys would be trying to, I think I can go over here to the middle road. The middle road was a hard packed road, but it was mostly shell.
So
we called it the washboard.
Yeah, so this is the beach would be about from here 30, 40 foot wide, and you either pick the high road, middle road, or low road. Yeah. And if you went low road and got it wrong, you were in the shit because you wouldn't be able to get back up.
Because of the way the high banks were.
It was a sheer
if you
drop.
could run down there, and like he said, if you're down there and all of a sudden you get to where, you can't get up because you're talking about sometimes at least this high.
Yeah, I've seen photos, I guess.
And there is a photo in there, and it's really hard to judge how high that cut bank is. Mm-hmm. But I promise you, it's every bit of this ceiling. Wow. And I'm down taking the picture in the truck. My friend's up there in the truck up there. I mean, it was. And that was right around the 20s. It was
definitely the fastest route if you could get through the low road on the low water. But if you got down there and that tide started coming in, you were buggered.
That's what happened. That's what happened to this guy right here. I'm sure that's what happened to this guy right here. Yeah.
There's some pictures of some trucks. These are in the high banks, but there's one.
These are 2-wheel drive cars. But.
Yeah, that people have driven down there, got stuck, and just. They got left there and become part of the beach. Yeah. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it was that frame of the one that says old car wreck. Okay, I remember that frame for years being there. And there was just weird stuff. There was like a barrel full of sand right at like the 21. Just a big old 45-gallon barrel. Just stood right. 2 guys... took a lawyer down there and they murdered him and put him behind the dune line. As they were coming off, they stole a truck, big Ford truck. So they saw this barrel and thought it was empty. They drove into it, right? And it broke the back of their truck and they left it in the first gut. So I'm coming in the next day, right? And there it is. So I photographed this truck in the first gut. Okay, so go down fishing. When I come back, there's cops and everything everywhere. Apparently the cab was full of blood and a helicopter had found the body behind the dune, all right? Wow. He had crossed some mafia or something, Mexican mafia, I don't know what it was, and they had broke the back of their truck. They'd flagged someone down to give them a lift off. The person gave them a lift off and then lent their phone to them to phone someone to get a lift, and that's how the feds called.
Yeah, the phone.
But I mean, I was going to say that's why the park rangers wear the flak jackets. Yeah, I mean, anyway.
Yeah, that was a.
But
good
it's again, it's knock on wood. I mean, I never had any problems down there, but the older I get, it's like the crazier the world is. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
But I mean, God, man,
Now-
we
now-
would go down there and I was going to say, go down there on a busy weekend, July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and you could go down there past the 30, and there might be 5 camps
You see,
on a busy weekend
people
like that.
were
back
scared
then.
to go down there as well, because I spoke to people back then. They wouldn't go past them high banks.
Well,
They
it
was-
was hard on a vehicle, and like I
Yeah.
say, I mean, there's several that gone down there and didn't make it back.
Now,
Have
Several.
you seen it lately? How busy it is?
When
On
I
the
go,
weekends, on
yeah,
the holidays?
yeah, like I'm going to go do a camp out here coming up. I guess really the second weekend in October. And we were trying to figure out a weekend, and I told the kid that I take, I said, "Well, when's Sharkathon?" He's like, "It's that weekend." Oh yeah, we don't want any part of that.
No.
And actually, we're going before that. So after that, the beach is going to be all
yeah,
torn up.
that'd be screwed.
Hopefully we get some really good high tides after that
Watch
that
it,
cleans the beach up, because
That's the
the
time.
beach will be torn up just from so many people driving.
Oh, that competition
if-
becomes so popular. It's amazing.
If everybody would stay in the same tracks, put it in 4-wheel drive early, and just cruise along and go, everything would be fine. But this guy decides, oh, it looks better over there, and he goes over there. So he makes some messed up stuff here,
Yeah.
and then he comes back. And it's the in and out and over
The
here.
one that gets
and this
me
and
is
that,
when they're
and-
pulling something that they shouldn't be pulling, and it goes boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
cuts that track
and,
up.
it makes the driving harder. Anyway.
So, just go back again. So you would swim baits out prior to your boat?
I never had a boat down there.
No, I mean that
Yeah,
inflatable.
inflatable thing.
Oh. Well, no, I mean, when I started, we always had a life raft
Oh, you did?
or a surfboard.
Okay, so you had a way
Yeah.
of taking the bait out,
Yeah.
and you drag a jackfish out there on your back,
I'd put it inside there.
right?
We would we'd find a piece of styrofoam on the beach, because you could always find styrofoam on the
Right.
beach, and we called it plugs, and put it on the hooks. And then, not to say that they didn't come undone a time or two and poke a hole in the life raft, but anyway, put the plugs on there, and then once you get out there, take the plugs off, and put the bait out. But we never had a lot of success. I mean, I had more success on stuff I cast out
Really?
than I did on stuff I swam out. Although, I mean, I saw 2 really big fish caught. I mean, I saw a 10-foot-6 tiger shark caught, and then the following weekend, an 11-foot 8-inch tiger shark caught by my friend, and that was in August of I'm thinking 94.
Did you take them
95.
sharks off in them days?
Pardon me.
Would you? I mean,
Well, we let we actually let both of them go.
good.
The 10.5 footer, as far as we know, it made it. The 11.8 tiger, it swam off, but it was hooked down on the gills, and of course I just unshackled the hook,
Right.
and it swam off. But I was up on top of the truck, and I told my friend Mike, I said, "Man, I swear it's upside down out there," and no. I said, "I'm telling you, I see it out there. It's upside down, And I don't know, about an hour later, it washed in, and I think it was actually still alive, but it was in rigor mortis. I mean, it was
Right.
stiff, and so we drug it up on the beach, and some tourist guys drove by. Hey man, can we have some of that? Hey, you take all you want.
No.
And they did what they did, and then he cut the jaws out, and we drug it up by the dunes, and
Now let's talk about this freeze, because
this was early. This freeze here, these pictures. This is the bayfront, and this is early '80s.
okay. And did you go around down south then, or see? They said
I
the
didn't go
fish
down the
kill
beach. This
amazing.
of course, I didn't have a boat back then,
Mm.
and this was the early '80s, and I'm thinking this was December or January, but I don't know. I don't remember us driving down in the surf or anything, but the surf is different
No, I was
than
talking
the bay.
about the bay side. Did
Yeah.
you? There was a real big fish kill.
Yeah, but this, like I say, I'm pretty sure this right here, this picture is Swantner Park.
Okay.
I'm thinking that it could be, because some of those other pictures, this is either Swantner Park. I'm pretty sure it is, but I I have some other ones in that album that are the Oso.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was one with the round with the
yeah,
ice all hanging in it.
Yeah. Anyway, and of course I didn't know it was against the law, but I went and scooped up half an ice chest full of sand trout, and heck, I couldn't hardly clean them because they were so cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Fresh as a daisy.
But anyway, so we had fresh fish that night.
Now, I put some pictures of the Sargasso and red tide in the bottom here.
I was just going to say, I've seen that sargassum to where, it's piled 4 foot high.
6 foot. I mean,
I don't know about 6 foot.
Honestly,
I've seen it 4 foot for
I
sure.
can remember being down there fishing, and I had to climb over it and drop down to the beach.
Well, I can tell you, I've seen it where it's been. I mean, at least this table.
Yeah.
And this table's not 6 foot, but to where. Yeah, I mean it's in between the road and the water,
right?
And you got to try to find a place, or you got to climb over it or whatever. And that was probably 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
I've got a picture of BJ Knowles and his boy fishing, and the weeds up. They've climbed over, and I'm filming them, and it's level with their heads, right? But the thing was. And the red tide also that would follow normally. Like you'd get bad weed events, sometimes you'd have the red tide following, and Frank's given us a couple of pictures.
Yeah, and that red tide, I mean, it's, whatever you want to call that, 4 to 6 foot wide all the way down the beach.
Correct. It's devastating. It's like something apocalyptic out of the Bible.
I ended up,
everything's
one time anyway, I got 2 flat tires, and I camped. I was by myself, and a friend of mine went in, back to Corpus, because and I camped at right there at the Sticks, right when you get on the beach. I spent the night right there till he came back with a couple of spare tires. And that's not an easy spare tire to come across. Not everybody has a military truck like that.
So. What I was going to have you noticed how blue the water's been lately?
Oh, it's the most fabulous looking water we've had, and I don't know how long. It's been like almost a month.
Right, and
it's beautiful.
All
water.
the weed event, all the hurricanes, everything. Red tide has gone to Florida, so there's been something changed, pretty drastic.
Well, you and I have talked about it over the last few years of. Yeah, where'd the shell go?
Right.
Why this? And it's probably been 10 years now. Man, we never used to catch a gaff top. Pufferfish.
Right, yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? Mm-hmm. We never caught those before. And so what's different out there? Is it a current change? Is it a real temperature change again? Because you've got the different,
right?
I'll say depths of water, and so what really is it?
See, Lily,
but it's definitely different. And here's something that I'm gonna put out there. I say it all the time. This is the most important part of this whole video. Is we have not been good stewards of this planet.
Oh yeah.
Period. But. Okay, they put jetties at Port Aransas. Okay, so that changed the way the sand works the islands, right? And then they built, way down there. I don't know which one was first, but down there in Port Isabel, Bobachita, they built those.
Mansfield,
okay, so
63.
you're still you're changing the way the sand works up and down the beach. Then they built the Mansfield jetties. And then they built the Fish Pass jetties. And then they did the Packard jetties. And so all that, and I'll call it silt, it's not getting to work. In the wintertime, it would work this way, and in the summertime, it would work that way. Mm-hmm. Well, all of a sudden, you've put these dams here, and you've changed that. And yeah, they may be miles apart, but you've spent the night before, and it's amazing how much different it can be where you camp the next day from the day before, just by the current, the amount of waves, the tides. I mean, all those little bitty particles of sand. It's amazing how much it can change in a day. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how much it can change.
People ask, where's a good place to fish? I said that beach changes every day.
It changes every day.
You know, and it just, you can't say, oh, I caught a redfish there 10 years ago. People do say that. I've had it say, oh, I always go to this spot because. But it's totally different every day.
It's different every day. The being able to read the beach, the sandbars, the pockets, the, you know, washouts, whatever, you know, and you know, I better not say all this. You cut this part out. You know? But no, it's, you know, they do it over there, the rip tides, the rip currents, you know. They're posting that on the stuff, you know, in Port Aransas and all that. It's like, no.
Don't tell them.
That's where we like to fish.
Yeah.
Don't tell them that, you know, that's a good fishing spot.
I had a guy ask me, when is the best time to fish pins? I was asked this question just today online. And I said to him that beach is so big, the only thing I look for is a moving tide. Either going in or I like movement. I don't like slack waters. And the other one was, the old men always said, when the north wind blows, the bait moves out, and it does. When the current comes back from the south, then must be
ready.
Right on
Be
you.
ready.
So there's the 2 points. Frank, well, I want to ask you back again sometime if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I'd love to. This late deal's kind of, when you said 7:15, it's like, I'd wanted to make sure AM or PM.
He did say that. He goes to bed at 7:30.
Because I told him, you know, about the 7:15. Shoot, man, I'm kind of taking a shower, getting ready for.
You know, me and Frank, or Frank especially, we were the youngest guys on that beach at one time. There was Billy, Ralph, Jim, Poncho, all the old men, and there'd be us. And now we're the old men.
Well, I was like 17, 18 years old when I really started going down there and camping and, you know, all that. And, you know, it was probably a year or two ago, Nick called me an old timer. And it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, you know, like, man, I'm not that old. But then I got to thinking, and it's like, yeah, there's only, you know, like a generation above me, which is what you are. You're in your 70s. Right. And then the 80s generation. There's none of those guys, I don't think, that go down there anymore at all. The guys in their 80s. Maybe a guy or two in their 70s. But there's a guy or two or three in my age group. And so it's like, you know, yeah, guys in their 60s that have been going down there since they were in their 20s or even younger than that, maybe with their family. Yeah, I'm an old timer.
Hell yeah, you are. I mean, put it there, mate. You know, Thank you so much.
God, man, I've that's my happy place, and it has changed, and it gets me that people run through my camp like that. In fact, we did a spring trip, mainly a camping trip, but we fished a little bit. But took this kid that's going this time, and he's not a kid; he's 31. Him and his dad, but it was him and his dad and his 2-year-old. And Willie was like, man, these people, they're going so fast. So I bought these, you know, caution wet floor things, but they're, you know, and I bought 4 of them. And that way maybe I can at least regulate, put 2 of them on this side of what I want to be the road and 2 of them on that side what I want to be the road. Please go in between those. You know, because again, it's a lot of people down there too. I'll tell this story, even though we're probably not on that anymore, but it was my wife and I. We were down there and we were fishing, and I was down by the water, and man, here come this guy, and he's flying, and you know, down about 50 yards from where I was, because they had already gone past where we were. He hit a whoop-de-doo, and he flipped his bait bucket out of the truck, and man, so I started running down there, and of course he got it in there and hauled ass before I caught up to him, and. But anyway, I met up with him the next day at the Mansfield Jetties, and And I'm proud of myself. I'll say I did a Charlie Kirk on him. You know, I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, I just want to let you know you're driving too fast yesterday." And he said, you know, he kind of got defensive. "Oh, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, when you threw your bait bucket out of the back of your truck, that should have told you that, yeah, you're probably driving a little bit too fast." I said, "You know, I really don't care when you're not around my camp or anything, but you know, when you go around somebody, you have to remember a couple of things. You've got to try to account for everybody. Look for feet under the truck, where people are."
Yeah, coming from the.
And I said, and they can't hear you,
Right.
because that surf is so loud. They don't know you're there, and just kind of left it at that. And I walked out there, and walked out there a little ways on the Mansfield jetties, and he walked up to me later and he said, "Man, I really appreciate you telling me that." He said, "I never really thought about it." Or, no, I told him too. I said, you were going so fast that you could not have stopped. You'd have run over me. And how would you feel if you killed somebody? I said, and you're not going to stop in that sand. It's going to slide anyway. And anyway, and then like I say, he walked out there and he said, "Yeah, I never really thought about it like that before." He said, I really appreciate that. And so I felt good about myself of not going over there and telling them, "Hey, you stupid," getting on them. And that's how you get through to people. You have to be civil. And anyway,
Nick had an idea about.
Oh, great idea!
Inflatable.
I was going to come up with an inflatable dog.
Yep.
So it sits there, and then what you do is it looks like it's going to run out. And I thought, what a great idea! That'll stop people speeding through your camp.
Shoot,
right?
No.
Right, but then I thought, no, these bastards will run it over.
Yeah. But you're right. But it's a lot of it is because of the society that we live in now. They just don't care. It's all about them. It's like you should always, and anytime I see somebody coming, I try to make sure, that the people that I'm with see them, because I'm usually pretty observant. But it's a deal where slow down. At least around my camp, especially when there's not much road.
Yeah.
Slow down.
You had a what?
I had a guy going like almost 90 on the bridge yesterday. Lives down the street here, some crazy guy.
That's nuts.
90 on the bridge, like,
freaking nuts.
What are you doing? And school buses is around him and stuff. I'm just crazy world. So I try to control myself after 5 minutes of chasing him to slow him down. Slow down.
Well, so that's how you need to do 90.
Yes, because I was doing 80 something and he was disappearing from me.
Well,
I keep running.
My wife gets on me a lot because I use my middle finger quite often and this and that. She's, "Oh no, they might have a gun."
Frank was in a bad accident years ago. Used to work for UPS, and a freaking cow come through the window, didn't it?
Well, it was in the road, and I hit him. I was doing 65 at night, and I busted my hip. That is probably, and I don't know the exact how long, but that's the longest I went not fishing in my adult life.
Right. Well, again, thank you, mate, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll get Frank back again. He's got a million stories and a million photographs we can share with you. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Nick and Wade. This is Frank. Frank is a guide in Port A. He's not retired yet.
Yeah.
How are you going to get hold of you if they want to come fishing with you?
I want to come fishing with you.
The name of my business is Just One More Outfitter.
Awesome.
And you can find me at www.justonemoreoutfitter.com.
There you go.
Awesome.
And again, thanks, Frank. You're awesome.
All right. Hey, I had fun.
Pleasure.
I always enjoy it. Really, I always enjoy it.